Welcome to The World Today. I'm WAQAS MAJEED Khan. Today we're covering two stories in our program. The first one is to do with the Samjhauta Express terrorist incident. An Indian court has let the Samjhauta blast accused walk free. We'll talk about that in our program. Our second topic is to do with the opposition. They may boycott the government briefing on the National Action Plan. We'll talk about that in some detail as well. Allow me to introduce my guests in the studio. Joining me for the conversation today, first of all, we have former Ambassador ASIF DURRANI Saab with us, and joining him we have Dr. GHULAM MUJADID. Thank you very much, sir, for being here.
Thank you.
Sir, first of all, this incident that took place in 2007, the Indian court has acquitted 4 men who have been accused, and in many cases the investigative agencies have also said that they were culpable, and yet the Indian court has let these people free, sir. What is your comment on this travesty of justice, sir?
It is very shocking to say the least, and it makes mockery of India's holier than thou claim about being the democracy and then talking about rule of law. This shows that India is pursuing double standards. They are very liberal when they blame Pakistan on any laxity, and without offering any substantial evidences. But in the case of Samjhauta Express, excuse me, it was quite obvious because it happened and there have been witnesses. All witnesses have not been given their access to the court. And even one of the lady from Pakistan, she wanted to depose and she wanted to be heard, was denied
that right.
That right. And of course, it is a National Investigation Agency's court, and but the prosecution shows that they have shown their laxity or it is deliberate. So till the time when something concrete comes out, at the moment, India is the culprit.
Dr. Saab, having said that, I've also been going through some reports by Indian journalists who have been covering this incident, and there was one very interesting article which I read, which was an interview that was conducted with Swami Asim Anand, the principal accused and the mastermind of this particular attack. He confessed to have committed this crime, and not just this one, but also he confessed to spreading Hindutva through violent methods, and despite all of that, he has still been acquitted, sir. How do you justify this sort of behavior by the Indian government, sir?
I think this acquittal is the continuation of a series of acquittal in cases where the Muslims have been targeted by terrorism in India. This interview to the Caravan by this Asim Anand is very telling from the fact that he confessed that the highest echelons of RSS were involved in the case of Samjhauta Express episode. So in 2007, there was this blast in Malegaon in one of the Muslim cemeteries where more than 40 Muslims were killed. And in 2007, there was a similar kind of a terrorist attack in Hyderabad, whereby this was a mosque, about 400 years old Mecca mosque, where the attack was done and 6 people died on the spot. And once the Muslims or the people reacted, agitated, the police killed another 4 of the same group or something. Very tragic indeed. And the accused in both these cases were acquitted in due course of time by the same NIA courts. I think more than this Samjhauta Express is very, very important for us because about 43 of them who were killed were Pakistanis. And not only that, the government, the host government where the foreign citizens go, the security and safety and all that is responsibility of the government. But this very acquittal is injurious to the Indian society as well. Once the justice is not being dispensed at the societal level, and there is a community whose deliberate, planned and terroristic targeting is being acquitted, as if nothing happened. I mean, does it mean that those 4 accused, okay, they may be innocent, but does it mean that those 68 people died and those explosions, nobody is responsible, nobody did that within the mainstream India? So I think ultimately the loser is going to be the Indian state and society, because if they set these standards of justice within themselves, if they have to live on as a society, how would they live? How would they continue living it?
Not only that, sir, but also please comment on the fact that how can India ask Pakistan to act against so-called terrorists without any investigation? At the slightest pretext of anything that goes wrong in India, Pakistan is blamed at once. And how can they expect us to take any action if they are going to conduct such sham trials within India and not give justice to the victims of this terrible crime, sir?
You are right. In fact, Pakistan had made a lot of progress when it comes to Bombay blast. We did identify whatever evidence they had, but the question was their real involvement, the involvement of the organizations India blamed. This is very important. And with regard to Samjhauta Express, important thing is that 44 Pakistanis out of 68, 44 Pakistanis died. So it involves, in fact, Pakistan. And nothing has happened. And India has not been forthcoming with the progress of the case. They didn't share with us what happened. And they didn't share with us that they have a weak prosecution. I'm not aware of what kind of evidences from Pakistan side would be needed, but since the incident took place inside India, and it was happening when the Pakistanis were returning to Atari. So India, and then I'll take back you to 1992, 6th December, when Babri Masjid was demolished. I was posted there then, and it was only the pretext, because for many years, those Hindutva forces, they started saying that it's a structure, it is not a mosque. So first they make a pretext, and then they in fact demolish whatever they think that they can promote the Hindutva agenda. And this is what precisely is happening. Then BJP was in opposition in 1992 when Babri Mosque case took place. Now, mosque is a religious place which in fact invokes sentimental attachment by all the Muslims across the world. Because of this Babri Mosque, all over the world there were protests among the Muslims, and the OIC extraordinary ministerial meeting was convened in Karachi in 1992.
Moreover, sir, please correct me if I'm wrong. When we're talking about the Babri Mosque episode, the Archaeological Survey of India conducted a number of surveys, and they came to the conclusion that there was no temple or no foundation found underneath the Babri Masjid. It was completely fabricated in order to stir up communal riots, sir.
You're right, because again, it's again an interesting paradox in the Indian society and the Indian polity which is now emerging and claiming to be secular. When the Babri Mosque was pulled down, these Hindu zealots and their
Bhakts or RSS.
Not Bhakts are the disciples. I'm talking of their leaders, religious leaders, Parcharaks. They were saying that courts or science cannot decide about the religious matters. Since we have said it that since there was a mandir here, so it's a mandir. So this was a sheer, you can say, chauvinism, which in fact played its role in the Indian polity. And gradually, since 1992 onwards, the Hindutva agenda has grown. It has grown in numbers, and the result is now we have a Hindutva leadership which is ruling the country, and they are aspiring to have next elections. And again, Pakistan has been made a scapegoat. Pakistan has been blamed for Pulwama and all those things. They did try to take an adventure, but it misfired. That's besides the point. But the issue is they are trying to drag Pakistan, and it has become a practice for the past 2-3 decades that Pakistan becomes a pretext in each election in India. especially the Hindutva forces, they blame Pakistan for that. But by dragging Pakistan into that, they want to pressurize the Indian Muslims. And Indian Muslims have to walk extra mile to prove their credentials being good Hindus. So this is a dangerous situation which is coming up in India, and no remedial measures have been taken. And the first casualty is the rule of law.
Absolutely, sir.
So this is what is dangerous and should be looked into very seriously by the sane voices, and which has already been commented upon inside India, both by the political forces as well as by the intellectuals.
But it also seems that the saner voices in India are being marginalized day by day. So we are also seeing that phenomena take place and further dividing society within India. So the secularism is almost out of the window. Sir, coming back to the Samjhauta Express issue, the Pakistani victim, or the daughter of the Pakistani victim, wanted to present herself as an eyewitness. She was present when this happened. Why was she denied her right to appear as a witness in this case? And then furthermore, sir, can this decision be appealed?
Okay, the status of National Investigation Agency's courts is that of normal session courts that we have in our country, since there is a similarity in the courts. So its status is equivalent to that. Its appeal can always be made before the High Court of the same province where this court is located. So there is no problem
Himachal
with
Pradesh,
there is no problem regarding going in appeal against this decision by anybody or something. Why this lady was denied the appearance as a witness was, as they say, as the defense lawyer says, that this was because not the defense, the execution,
The prosecution.
the prosecutor side said that since it is very late, they had submitted some list of witnesses, about 13 of them, to Pakistan, and that was long time back, so nobody responded. This is a late response, so it is not admissible at this particular time.
They say time barred.
It is time, it's kind of a time, although witnesses can never be time barred, because the process can always be held waiting, so that as much of evidence that can be taken should be taken in a particular case once the witness is herself offering that.
At least that's what the law says.
That's what the law says. But per now, the decision has been given without including this important witness as part of the process, even though the lawyer of this witness has said that they will definitely go in appeal to this against this thing in the High Court.
Well, sir, talking about Mr. Swami Asim Anand, he has been said to be the main perpetrator and the mastermind of this activity. He also is one of the main leaders of the RSS. Despite him confessing to his role in the Samjhauta Express blast and many others besides, sir, how was the court able to let him walk free or even acquit him of the crime when he had confessed it himself? He further went and said that that confession was taken under duress, but there were 10 investigation agencies that provided or confronted him with the proof of his nefarious activities, which is why he confessed in the first place. So it's entirely a sham trial that we are witnessing. This is unacceptable, sir, and can we approach any international forum to bring this to the attention of the world that this is what's happening in India?
Well, WAQAS, the issue is that Indians, right now, the Indian polity is passing through a phase where reason has no value. You cannot reason out because of the Hindutva forces have been unleashed in a manner that they can trounce all the laws. The rule of law is the first casualty in this case. I will not be surprised if the judges might have been under pressure. I will not be surprised if the prosecution had been under pressure to make a weak case, despite the fact that Swami Asim Anand, he did confess, or at times he boasted about his machoism or being brave, that he in fact steered the process of this terrorism. So therefore, it is important to understand that right now those forces which are ruling in India, they can go to any extent. I normally, there's an analogy that Second World War would not have perhaps taken place hadn't we have Hitler or Mussolini in Europe. So I'm afraid, I'm quite pessimistic about the emerging scenario inside India. And it is a big question mark on India's secular credentials. India will have to prove itself to the world. And as far as going to the international courts about these incidents, I think let's first wait for the other processes which are involved in this case, because it is at the session level.
So do you think that there would be some people who would be appealing this decision, or do you think that these people will now be walking free?
It depends that whether court has allowed them to walk free. I'm not aware. So far, the court has.
If the court has acquitted them, sir.
If they have acquitted, they can walk free. But at the same time, we have to watch whether the government again, Indian government, takes action and keep them under custody, and then launch an appeal in this High Court and then subsequently in the Supreme Court. But the cases, for instance, in the Indian Parliament attack case against Guru. They could contrive all kind of prosecution, could contrive all kind of evidences in order to hang the gentleman. So there they were quite active. When it comes to Pakistan, even just in the case of Pulwama, even the dust of that blast had not settled, and they started blaming Pakistan for that. So it is quite obvious, it is becoming obvious. But then India is showing itself in the bad light. India should not be happy about that, and this kind of a polity is not going to take them along, and this kind of a polity is not going to work actually. It is dangerous, though. At the same time, I think the world is now realizing that if Indians they think that they can flaunt and they can go scot-free with these practices, so it is not going to work for a longer time.
Sir, Pakistan obviously condemned this decision. They called it a travesty of justice. The Indian High Commissioner was also summoned to the Foreign Office to lodge Pakistan's protest, sir. But beyond that, what other measures can Pakistan really take in terms of showing our displeasure with this particular decision? And then also the fact that Pakistan has been consistently talking about the lack of progress and concerted attempts by India to exonerate the perpetrators of this heinous terrorist act.
Well, there are many forums. OIC is a forum where, again, we can raise this issue. And then at the UN, it can be taken because Pakistanis are involved. And India has to satisfy Pakistan. 44 Pakistani lives were lost in that terror attack. And if this is the case, and that's how the court is going to set those people free, of which one, the Pracharak, he claimed that he was involved, and he boasted that his followers, they had enacted this terrorist act. So what else they want? So it is, you have to watch it, and I think since India will come to its defense that it was the first tier of justice, and they have to wait for another 2 processes at the High Court level and Supreme Court level, then you should pass a judgment. India still has that option and that excuse available.
Well, let's see, sir, how things proceed, and Pakistan obviously will be very closely monitoring the developments in this particular case, sir. I would like to share with you, sir, the statement of the Foreign Office. They said that the acquittal of the accused today, 11 years after the heinous Samjhauta terror attacks, makes a travesty of justice and exposes the sham credibility of the Indian courts. It also believes, or rather it also belies, the rampant Indian duplicity and hypocrisy where India reflexively levels allegations of terrorism against Pakistan while protecting with impunity terrorists who had publicly confessed to their odious crimes. Having said that, sir, how do you think the Indian government is going to react to the Pakistan Foreign Office statement?
Pakistanis and Pakistan's Foreign Office is absolutely justified in expressing our dismay and disappointment over the acquittal, because there were about 44 or so Pakistanis that were involved, and this gives us a permanent reason for our involvement, being worried about the safety of our citizens in a foreign country, and with the history of the relations that we have. So instead of carrying out impeccable justice and investigation and letting us know that, well, these were the flaws in the system that led to whatever happened to those souls, I think the acquittal is just a mockery of the justice and the relation and the respect and dignity of Pakistanis and Pakistan as a whole. I mean, we are not, nobody, no person on this globe is an ordinary fellow, that his life can be taken and no excuse can be given by the ones who are responsible to ensure justice, law and peace within their country. It didn't have, God forbid, it did not happen in Pakistan or elsewhere or something. It happened right within India, and their own people have died. So what are they trying to give message to us, to the world, and to their society themselves? As I say, that Indians live within India. As a state and as a society, it must become livable for the ones who live there. It is not that one particular RSS or Hindutva or whatever is the majority opinion can, kill, mine people and their property who belong to the minorities.
So do you think that the policies of the current ruling BJP government has alienated the vast majority of the Indian population, sir? Or do you think that a large number of Hindutva followers are still going to ensure that they are able to get an election victory? Sir, would you like to comment on this?
WAQAS, I think even sane elements within the BJP have been marginalized, and they feel frustrated. Gone are the days that when Yashwant Sinha and others who were the leading lights of a BJP party, or even L. Kadwani, who was considered to be a hawk, they have been marginalized. And this shows that a new trend is emerging, and now RSS and Bajrang Dal, who are the militant arm of BJP, now they have taken over. And so right now, militancy is ruling India. And that's why I said earlier, it is a dangerous sign. It's a dangerous sign which can lead to any misadventure, whether within India, against the minorities, especially the Muslims, or in the region. With regard to Pakistan, post-Pulwama Indian misadventure is a case in point. We have to be very careful and watchful, but at the same time, we have to sensitize the world. And I'm sure Foreign Office and our missions, they are doing their job. They will be sensitizing the world about the dangerous trends which are coming up from India, and coming up from those forces who are now calling the shots. The sane voices, even within the ruling parties, now they have become a second fiddle. They have no voice at all. And elections are coming, and they are using this as a macho plank for their electioneering, which is again a dangerous sign, because it has marginalized and it has put other political forces on the defensive. And this is also one of the reasons that the ruling elite in India, led by Prime Minister Modi, they want to paper over their shortcomings. They cannot show to their electorates what performance they did have during the past 5 years and what makes them eligible to be elected for another 5 years. So it is quite obvious. And for them, if they raise the bogey, if raise Pakistan's bogey, and I think that through that they can further promote the nationalist agenda, so in that then they can perhaps try and gather the patriotic sentiments.
Well, that remains to be seen, sir. This Indian election is a great test for the people of India more than anything else, sir. But do you think it is a coincidence that one of the publications that perpetuates this hatred in India at the moment is called the swastika? Can there be any parallels drawn between what was happening in Nazi Germany at the time of the Second World War and what is happening today within the Indian polity, sir? Are there any parallels that can be drawn and any lessons that might be learned, sir?
Okay, once Nazi party or Hitler selected this sign swastika, swastika has its origins in India, in Hindu mythology and philosophy. So it is the other way around. Actually, he took it from here. But now that they are emphasizing that sign, which is sign of chauvinism and glory and Hindu, imperialism or something, at the great time that that it signifies for the people or that belong to this faith, that is worrisome. I mean, this is a sign of extremity. It's a sign of glory at the cost of others in a particular area, or this and that, which is dangerous. And the voices against it, as Ambassador Sahab just said, they are the most effective voices, may I call them. They are being raised from within India itself, because they understand the danger of these signs and all that. Shashi Tharoor, for example, you listen to him, yes, and many sane voices who want India to progress. India has the elements of greatness, but these small things are actually keeping India where it actually is at. It is not letting India to take off at the level that it wants to. It could otherwise. It has enough area, enough resources, enough everything. But the only thing that is marginalizing it is that division within, which is keeping it very, very weak. And
but what is the motivating factor, sir, in this self-destructive endeavor of the Hindutva project that the Indian government is embarking upon? It is a self-destructive measure. We've seen this over and over again. Time has given the testimony that whenever you indulge in such regressive thought processes, you're actually damaging your own progress and your own people, sir.
In the political science, this is quite an enigma. You gave example of Nazi party. I think by 1943, the world knew that it's known as collective suicide. But then the most brilliant brains of that society and that age, the elected people, the government, they willingly go and commit collective suicide or some political suicide. So this is a normal phenomenon. What happens is that, like within a normal human being, there are self-destructive and self-perpetuating tendencies working at the same time. So within a polity, and why do you do that? Because by doing whatever they are doing, and that is taking them to the collective, that is under the garb that actually they are pursuing greatness. But they are not pursuing greatness, they are doing kind of...
But it's a self-destructive endeavor,
sir. It is kind of endeavor. We have seen it. The history has seen it happen in many, many great countries as well.
So very unfortunate, and we hope that lessons from history are learned by Indians, but I don't see that happening. On that point, sir, we'll move on to our second topic, which is in a similar vein, but not exactly the same. The opposition, sir, has said that they may boycott the briefing of the National Action Plan. The government has said that they have invited all the parliamentarians to discuss this issue. Now they say that due to the prevailing tense political atmosphere of the country, they would rather not attend. What is your opinion on the matter, sir? Do you think that political differences should be set aside when it comes to something as important as the National Action Plan?
I agree, and the reason is that all political parties, they are the stakeholders. In fact, these 20 points of National Action Plan were adopted by consensus by the Parliament in 2014, post Army Public School massacre by the terrorists. So it is a plan, and the briefing is something which any government is supposed to keep the opposition informed. So I think my advice would be that politics apart, here we are talking about national issues, and national issue that in fact which is affecting Pakistan domestically as well as internationally. So opposition has displayed the spirit of oneness during the Pulwama incident and post-Pulwama, and I hope that sanity would prevail and they would actually end their boycott and be part of the exercise, because it's very important for promoting the national agenda and in order to curb extremist, obscurantist and terrorist mindsets, because it has already harmed Pakistan.
And it is harming it on a daily basis, sir.
It is harming, but luckily we have overcome the past challenges, and right now the terrorists are on the run. And at this fag end, when we are victorious, we should rather, there's a need for displaying unity by all ranks, irrespective and across the board. This is very important.
Dr. Saab, the Pakistan People's Party has already suggested to the government to convene an in-camera joint setting of the parliament for the briefing on the National Action Plan. What is your comment on that? Because furthermore, the PMLN President, Mr. Shahbaz Sharif, has also said the collective opposition believes that an inclusive decision-making process must be undertaken, or the National Assembly should be the place where this meeting should take place, and the country can benefit from the collective wisdom of all parliamentarians instead of a selected few. That's what he said, sir.
Yes, I think now we are talking of the internal polity within our country, and the moot point, like any other point, is the national security, of Pakistan. The National Action Plan, we had to make it in 2014, although the processes that led to the threat to Pakistan, they had unleashed much earlier. Unfortunately, it took us very long to come to a mere consensus of an outline of what to do. And thanks God, this outline known as National Action Plan is a consensus parliament approved document and responsibility of everybody who is involved in those 20 points, or who is involved in order to ensure the security, dignity and prestige of Pakistan, the serenity that must prevail. Everybody is responsible, not only the political leaders, our administration, ourselves, wherever we are working, and we must contribute the financial sectors of Pakistan, the police, the courts, and whosoever is supposed to do under the constitution certain function, that has to contribute towards one of the points or many of the points that relate to their work in the National Action Plan. Okay, so why I said that it was internal polity, because whenever there is a government and the ones who are in the opposition, they have a right to suggest in their own way of what best do they think that a particular action can be taken. I think we do not have to doubt their either wisdom or their being good Pakistanis. They are as good probably Pakistanis as the ones who are running the government. I mean, that's a very healthy thinking. You have said what Mr. Bilawal Zardari Bhutto has said, and we also know what are the feelings of the leader of the opposition, Shahbaz Sharif. Nobody is saying that we are not going to contribute. Nobody is saying that it is not vital for us to come to the.
Well, there is one individual, sir, who is saying that, and that is Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who has outrightly refused to be a part of it.
I think Maulana Fazlur Rahman is an important political figure, but he is not People's Party plus the PLMN or the opposition. I mean, but we should not resent political voices. Let him say whatever he says, but we are happy that our main political parties are very, very proactive. They have never said that they will probably.
Sir, I would also like to share with you what Mr. Qureshi has said. The foreign minister stated that the meeting of parliamentary leaders was being convened to underscore our continued commitment to the speedy implementation of the National Action Plan, which is clearly in the long-term interest of the people of Pakistan. So the intentions, sir, being stated by the government and also by the opposition parties generally agree on the fact that the National Action Plan is very important and vital for Pakistan's future, but the modalities of how to go about it are a moot point. So how can we get past the modalities and actually get down to the real work, sir?
Again, your analysis is absolutely on the dot. I mean, everybody understands the need of implementing National Action Plan. Now, how to do it, the mere fact that we want to do a thing, there could be more than one options or ways or strategies to implement regarding achieving the same thing. And once we have positivity, sincerity of purpose, and we sit together, as we say, as he said, that let's listen to every point of view and then agree in a very short time on what to do in a particular field. I think that's a good strategy, and that's the only strategy to follow.
Absolutely, sir. Well, another moot point, sir, in the National Action Plan is the continuation of the military courts, sir. What is your opinion on that? Do you think the military courts should be extended further, or do you think that the need for them is no longer there?
I think military courts did the right job and good job because they acted as a deterrence against terrorists, and those who were given capital punishments was actually a clear message to extremists and terrorists that state means business, and they would not be allowed to take the law into their hands, or they would not be allowed to run a parallel government. This was very important. So military courts, as long as they are needed, should be there, because this is something is a saving grace. Because let me tell you that even our civil courts judges, they refuse to hear those cases. So state had no option but to go for the military courts. And mind you, 70,000 people have laid down their lives during the past decade, and of which the law enforcement agencies, they were also at the forefront in leading this fight. And now they are succeeding. And it is a collective success. Our law enforcement agencies, our armed forces, police, paramilitary, they laid down their lives, sacrifices. Thousands have been injured. They have performed, and they have, in fact, showed the performance. I also want to highlight here that the National Action Plan has already been acted upon. Not only the terrorists have been neutralized, they have been arrested, and now a part of them have also been rehabilitated, especially the SWAT militants.
Absolutely, sir. Most part of the National Action Plan has been implemented, but there are many other aspects of it which need further work. And I think the citizens of Pakistan have a much larger role to play in completing that task, which is to implement the National Action Plan in letter and spirit, and in our own lives as well. I think that is very important, sir, and that cannot be stated more importantly than what has happened recently in Bahawalpur, sir. This is the reason why the National Action Plan is so important to be implemented in its true letter and spirit. A young student, sir, has murdered his professor because he felt that the professor's views were un-Islamic and that arranging a welcome party for new students was against the principles of Islam. Now, this is the state that we are finding ourselves living in today, sir. This unfortunate brainwashing of the youth of Pakistan is a very, very deadly situation, sir, for our future generations. Would you agree with this contention or not, sir?
I think you are absolutely right. It actually is. And it is not that we have to blame the nation of Pakistan for this entirely. Actually, every nation and society creates the structures and institutions for the same purpose, that it should remain peaceful, there should be laws that should be implemented, there should be views that should be moderate and based on the core values of humanity and society.
We also had the case of Mashal Khan, sir, recently, yes, which is another symptom of this disease.
And if we somehow promote, they are all socio-political things. No one is, it's not, you cannot say that this is the thing. No, you will go to many, many areas to find out the answers. Unfortunate, unheard of, absolutely unethical and frightening for a society, and not the first time. I think a year earlier in your program we discussed a student murdering a teacher of his or something, and of course whatever happened to certain students, as you said, and all that. This is very alarming, and we hope, and you are very right, National Action Plan is the plan to be followed by the nation as a whole. Nation has its different components, parliament,
the security agencies do their job, sir, but we as individuals and citizens also have a responsibility,
we have to be
and we must fulfill that responsibility,
and our
sir.
responsibility is that as an individual, as a family, to follow and perpetuate the basic human values by which people live.
Absolutely, sir. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for taking out the time and sharing your views with PTV World. Well, you heard the conversation. And again, we would like to speak to the powers that be to please wake up and smell the coffee and take notice of an incident that took place in Bahawalpur where a student killed his teacher because of his views. On that note, it's goodbye. Thank you very much, sir. Sorry about dropping my phone.